What's good with it to YouTube? You already know this is a comics reaction with your boy Big Flocko coming live and direct, man, on this platform, man. You already know what we're gonna do. We're gonna do reactions to certain situations, man, and I'm gonna give you a comics perspective of it, man. So check this out, man, real quick. So what we're gonna do right now is this, man. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, bell notification to get this channel moving. Hope everybody's having a positive day. But we're gonna be talking about this video that I found. It's called Hostilities, basically, by a channel called 187 News. It's the only video this channel has. So I don't know where this video originated from, but it's a good one, man. It's about the aftermath of the end of hostilities. Gives you a brief in the beginning, talks about some of the riots and melees that occurred, and it talks about what the agreement was. So it's 41 minutes long. I'm gonna jump around a little bit, give you my perspective as we go, and react to certain parts of it and what my view and my perspective of it is. So let's get to it, guys. Let me see. Bam. I got to do this. Video file. Let me see. Quick access. Let's see. Hostilities.
Incoming information we want to share with you tonight. Live Copter 3 HD over the scene of Folsom Prison.
Sometimes the beginning starts off like
intentionally provoked to speak.
The beginning starts off like this: 50 riot. You guys see that? 50 Folsom riot. It talks about this end.
Shot or suffering some type of blunt force trauma. We're also told that some officers suffered minor injuries in the riot as well.
One prisoner was killed, 13 more were wounded and rushed to Davis Medical Center.
So it looks like New Folsom was really a hotbed. High Desert, New Folsom, Salinas Valley, Pelican Bay, and then New Corcoran, were the main prisons that were rocking, because there's a lot more diversity on these yards, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna be moving around a little bit. Let's get a little forward.
Of this, conflicts between groups or individuals frequently escalate into all-out race wars behind prison walls. A similar racial dynamic can be observed in prisons and jails across America, but in the state of California, inmate-race relations are exceptionally violent and notoriously hostile.
Yeah, we already know that the environment that California prisons, operate is basically races and politics. Basically, the feds falls under the same guidelines that California does as far as the prison politics, man. Race is a big issue. You have to align with your race in there. There's no, mixed race gangs. There's no acceptance of that in there. I mean, you'll have some blacks or some whites or some others that are norteños or sureños. But for the most part, if you were to start a group that was just mixed race, it gets shut down real quick. Let's see if we get some more of what the end of hostilities is, guys. Let me see. Let me see. There it is here. The agreements and all hostilities. You can find this online, guys.
Sought to disrupt the vicious cycle of racial turmoil amongst California inmates. The peace treaty states, "Now is the time for us to collectively seize this moment and put an end to more than 20 to 30 years of hostilities between our racial groups."
So that's what the end of hostilities' main focal point was. You know what? We're tired of this administration, which is the California Department of Corrections Rehabilitation, pretty much orchestrating scenarios that put them pitted against each other. All they're doing is getting their rights taken away. They felt like this was the time for them to take a stance and to put all the issues on the back burner. You see, the only way for any groups to have peace, right, is to come together towards a common goal, a common aim. And that's why the end of hostilities was so successful, was that every group was on the same page within the GP factions. And this is something that everybody needs to understand. Without these groups unifying towards a common goal, they're not unifying to go against, inmates and be a super gang. No, to unify towards a common goal. You know what I'm saying? The NF and Norteños were the last to sign off on this. And, for whatever reasons, I have never got a response, but I'm going to assume that there must have been a lot of debate and discussions about whether by them agreeing to this, would they be committing treason. Something to consider. Let's go on, though.
Therefore, beginning on October 10th, 2012, all hostilities between our racial groups in SHU, ADSEG, general population, and county jails will officially cease. This means that from this date on, all racial group hostilities need to be at an end. And if personal issues arise between individuals, people need to do all they can to exhaust all diplomatic means to settle such disputes. Do not allow personal, individual.
Basically, what they're telling everybody is that no longer are petty issues going to be tolerated. No longer are they going to be create. They're going to have to go through diplomatic relationships, which is how it's supposed to be the whole time. So sometimes groups don't want to align with that, and sometimes it's based upon numbers or who has more of a better position to which group's going to concede or which group's going to accept, which group's not going to accept. Prison politics, they get very fucking muddy. If that makes sense. Very foggy with what's real and what's fake out there. October 10, 2012, that's the key date. That's when this agreement was fully enforced. I think this has helped them, though. I think without the end of hostilities, I don't think any judge was going to, grant them release upon the shoots. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit because we know a little bit more about this. See what else they're talking about in here.
Confinement and an easing of restrictions.
As the inmates' hunger strike enters its 5th week, family members and supporters rallied, demanding changes in a prison regime they believe amounts to torture.
Dozens of California prison inmates are in the 8th week of a hunger strike that is believed to
8th week of a hunger strike, man. That's amazing. There were certain people that were falling out that got really sick, man, over this hunger strike, man. You know what I'm saying? It took families out there and lawyers and attorneys and the attention of the media to really push this issue out there, man. Otherwise, it wouldn't have, I don't think it would have got so much attention, man. I will say this. They played their cards smart because CDCR was doing all they could to shut this shit down. They got attorneys. Of course, they have the best attorneys because they have a peace officers union. In addition to that, they got inmates who recently debriefed, who went on there to try to slander and give ulterior motives why they wanted to be out there on those lines. Which kind of didn't really work too well because the judge is going to look at it. Why wouldn't they want to be out there on these lines? You know what I'm saying? Whether they commit criminal activities or not, that's besides the point. That's up to administration to do what they got to do and for the inmates to do what they got to do, So let me see what else they're talking about in here.
be the longest ever for the state's penal system. The prisoners are protesting conditions in so-called security housing units or solitary confinement where gang leaders and violent prisoners are held for long stretches of time, decades even.
Yeah, there was guys that were in for decades. And right there, if you notice that, that's Todd Ashker. You had Truxell, George Anthony, Franklin Anthony, Frank Reyes, Richard Johnson, Paul Red. You got a whole bunch of people on this one, man. George Franco, that's Puppet. I think Chuku eventually got his name on it as well, man. So this it goes into everything on this video, guys. And that is, let's listen to this real quick.
We volunteered to become the 4 main representatives of this short quarter collective, which was a prisoner class human rights movement seeking to expose the torture of long-term decades housed in SHU.
He's 100% right, man. Anybody that's done time will tell you that, you have to have a strong mind and a strong will to, to maintain, your composure, to maintain your mental health, man. I mean, and the games that they play, because you're at their mercy, you're at their control. You know what I'm saying? And if you react with violence, it's not going to go too good with, correctional officers and whatnot. You're going to be subject to reprisal attacks. They'll mess with your mail. They'll give you razors that have been contaminated with HIV and Hep C. I know a dude individual, I think it was Silver, as a matter of fact. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that he won a lawsuit, I believe, because he was able to prove that when he got to Pelican Bay, he didn't have Hep C. Next thing you know, he had Hep C. I think it was Silver. I could be wrong. And it was basically they weren't looking at everybody's razors. And they were just giving anybody any razor, And Hep C is easy to pass, man. Someone in the shoe. Well, look, this guy.
I've seen guys lose their minds back here. I've seen guys change. I've seen guys that pull into themselves. I've seen guys that, hear things that ain't there. It would be
100%, man. That's totally accurate, man. I've seen dudes put shit on their fucking whole bodies and fucking start yelling and start doing weird shit, like making weird designs and talking in weird fucking gibberish jabber. You know what I mean? You experience all of it, man, in the shoot, man. That's a really real statement there, man. Like I said, not everybody is ready for it. Who's this guy?
These are those men. Prisons Chief Jeffrey Beard said isolation units are necessary to prevent violent inmates from harming corrections officers and other inmates. The inmates calling the shots are leaders in 4 of the most violent and influential prison gangs in California: the Aryan Brotherhood, the Mexican Mafia, Nuestra Familia, and the Black Guerrilla Family.
That's typically how they always respond, man. They try to self-justify it, man. Like I said, man, regardless of who, what, where, when, why, if they haven't committed the act of violence, it's not going to change whether they're in the shoe or out there in the main lines. You know what I mean? You know, it's going to give more access to criminal rackets. We know that, man. But those criminal rackets are going to be there regardless who's out there on those yards, period. You know what I'm saying? That's just the truth of it, man. Let's just get down to the reality of it, man.
Major English news outlet covered the topic in some form. The New York Times, Washington Post, BBC News, Associated Press, and numerous others all ran articles about the hunger strikes and broader movement.
So that's what you need. You need media attention, man. I wish Texas would probably, get the attention that they deserve right now, because they're going through a similar struggle, man. And the media is they're not propagating that information on the news wire. They're not picking up the story. They're not worried about it, man. I don't know if there's something to do with Texas environment, because California is a real liberal state with a whole flux of many different issues. So I think it was easier for them to get the attention in California as opposed to a state like Texas, who don't play around and don't really care. You know what I mean? Let me see what else we got. Oh, there goes what's his name?
That, I mean, why should you hate somebody that never did something to you? Or you should hate a whole race of people just because they got a few assholes, or a whole bunch of them. It doesn't matter. Even if it's a 99 out of 100 and that one good person, why would you want to hurt him? Or if you really look at it, just because the other 99 are who you call unworthy or whatever.
That's what's his name, man. Yeah, Renegades talking real talk, man. I think a lot of people figured that out after all these years of battling people that you don't even know, that hate you for no reasons than what you represent. It's kind of good that they come to those terms and start to look at things a little bit different. You know what I mean? I've seen this video before. It was a good one. He's keeping it raw and real, man. What we're going to begin into shortly, though, is the after effects. And what I tell you guys, then we're going to start targeting those that were behind this into hostilities. They were going to find ways to get them in the shoe. They were going to fabricate evidence. They were going to do a lot of things. Now, some of them are like I said, they could be guilty. You know what I'm saying? I haven't seen the paperwork or the research or the charges built against them, right? So I can't really say. But you knew that they were going to be targeted either way. What I mean by targeted, they were going to be the focal point of any investigation. Let me see.
Working together have kind of a chilling effect on the way that you communicate with your attorneys. And I mean, there's 4 of us in here that are facing capital charges. Yeah. The government's trying to execute us. If the judge finds that these booths are not confidential, then that means they haven't been for the 3 years that we've been here. And I mean, that has basically stymied our case. We have not been able to move forward because of this. And it's like, dude, the government is trying to execute some of us, or they've gone on record saying that we are considering it. The fact that they're considering it.
You're talking about the AB indictment recently. That's they're all being housed in Sacramento. I think in the county jail. I don't know if they moved them back to Folsom or not, man. But what they're saying is, right, in a lot of these numerous stories, that one of the BGF members, he was brought to the hole unjustly. Todd Asker. Then they bring up the Operation Quiet Storm, saying that was the whole focal point was behind, the end of hostilities is why they got pinpointed out. So this, like I said, man, I got to scan through. I can't get everything in here, but I can show you parts of this video and give you my reaction to it. All right, let's go.
Come to your cell and take every piece of property in your cell. You cannot have any food, nothing like that. Absolutely nothing. Your cell is completely empty except for your clothing, your mattress, your sheets, that kind of stuff, your TV. But they come in and they remove every single piece of property you have. So you don't have any food in your cell, period. The only food that's even on the radar is the trays that they bring to your cell and that you're refusing. That is the...
Interesting there, guys. I don't have too much comment on that. See what this is talking about, guys. Like I said,
when I got there, I went there myself. I mean, I really don't have a shot at getting out, but the fact that my presence in those meetings kind of made some of my people more comfortable going, they went. You know what I mean? And if you don't go to groups and you don't try to do these things to better yourself, then the prison board is not going to let you out. So what these groups did was they enabled some of these guys to get some of that under their belt. You know what I mean?
Very true. If you're locked in the shoe because of gang affiliations or alleged gang affiliations, you can't do all the programs or be involved in stuff that is going to give you the best opportunity to get out. That's why a lot of people were upset that, with the SNY system, that those SNY inmates, would, choose to be there for whatever reasons, but they get all the opportunities. Whereas if you are active, you're going to be in the shoe because eventually they're going to try to find ways to validate you as a gang member. It's so true. I've met dudes that have been down 15, 20 years, 25 years, where they've done way less crimes than some of these other murderers that get released. And that's just the truth of the reality, man. They cater to certain individuals in the system, and them targeting gang members self-justifies them locking people up in the shoe. It was all a game plan to put people in the shoe, to house them there, to generate more income. Because when you're locked up in the shoe, you get more money.
2019. While I was here, the cops would go around talking about our RICO case and some of the confidential details of it. It's like they were trying to create or coerce new informants to tell on us, or
That's the administration move right there, is to pretty much let people know certain things that only unless someone is telling would know, to try to get others to flip. You know what I'm saying? That's a tactic there, man. Let me see.
He stated, I, Ramirez searched this cell. I, Ramirez found the weapon. I, Ramirez photographed this weapon. How can he be at two places at one time? He never even entered my cell. He sat in the office with me for 30 minutes. So I go out for a back surgery the next day. I spent 14 days in a hospital. I came back. They put me in the same cell. And then I had some complications with post-op blood.
Oh, look at this. Former California correctional officer pleads guilty to civil rights violation for assault on inmates to cover up inside. Arturo Pacheco of Elk Grove pleaded guilty today to criminal civil rights violations for the on-duty assault of two inmates entrusted to his care and submitting false reports. Yeah, Pacheco died in that case. I remember that one. Not Pacheco. Pacheco didn't die. The inmate that he pulled legs died. That was an older guy. I think it was in a wheelchair or something like that, right? That shows the list of inmates charged in the AB indictment right there. Let me see. Oh, the other time about Operation Quiet Storm. You see that? Let's see what they say about Operation Quiet Storm.
Gang bust that the FBI says took down the head of the snake of the La Nuestra Familia street gang in Northern California.
The U.S. attorney called the 5-year operation the most significant law enforcement.
5-year operation. So that means it started in 2016, a year, like about 9 months after they got out from the end of hostilities agreement. Interesting, huh? Interesting how both these groups got hit like that. The AB first, and then the other group. Really interesting.
action to disrupt Nuestra Familia in decades. The Sheriff's Department and San Jose Police joined the Department of Justice.
I'm almost done, guys, with this. The Mercury News. Now that allegedly one of California's 4 dominant prison gangs have been indicted on racketeering charges, they're doing their best to return to their cells in California prison system. And legal motions filed. So the NF files motions, right, over their conditions in that water. DC and Conejo are in wheelchairs, and they're not having any type of rights that they had on the main line, and so they're trying to self-justify. We're locked up in the shoe does not mean that we cannot acquire the rights as far as to phone access, TV, and whatnot, and interaction. So they're trying to get out there to those lines. This is a federal institution. You know what I'm saying? So this is going to be interesting because now they're fighting a Fed case, but now they're filing a civil lawsuit because of the conditions of their confinement. So, this is going to be a harder one for them to fight. You know what I'm saying? Much harder. Okay, no, this is against Brother Sitawa. Watch this, guys.
By peace treaty co-signer and principal negotiator Ronnie Dewberry, also known as Sitawa Nantambu Jama. He says he was placed in administrative segregation at Salinas Valley State Prison after ISU agents claimed they found contraband while searching his cell. Sitawa says the ISU agents illegally planted the contraband to just.
So that's another case. So basically, everybody that was strongly so far behind the end of hostilities has, in one form or fashion, ended up in the hole with new indictments or something that takes them off the main line. Watch.
Justify sending him to ADSEG as a means of retaliating against him for his role in the prisoner human rights movement. About 2 years later, he was granted medical parole during the COVID-19 pandemic. The same year that Sitawa was re-isolated, another principal negotiator, Arturo Castellanos, issued a statement in which he...
No, that's interesting too, right? Another big factor as far as in the system, they try to get, I think they're trying to get him for conspiracy to commit murder against someone that he's claiming a friend. I don't know the intricate details, man, but we know how administration works. Let's listen to it.
He states that he and 2 other Pelican Bay inmates had been placed in ADSEG for allegedly having conspired to murder their friend. He writes that the coroner investigator found no evidence of foul play in the man's death, who overdosed while alone in his cell. Even Todd Ashker, the Central Movement organizer whose lawsuit has kept thousands of inmates out of solitary confinement.
He just lost his lawsuit in San Francisco because he's in the hole. Trying to say that these are retaliation for having the hostilities, and he lost. And that opened the door, like I said, for others.
Is himself isolated again in administrative segregation. Ashker was in the SHU for nearly 30 years prior to the settlement, which released him to the general population in February of 2016. By May of the following year, however...
These are the settlement terms. So it's not it can't be from a status-based system to behavioral-based. So now the only way that they can get you in the SHU is by behavioral-based. So that's why they're trying to put different types of labels and titles on people for, okay, you ordered the hit, you did this and that. Look at the NF's indictment. 14 attempted murders or conspiracy to commit murder. You know what I'm saying? You see how we end this.
At times, the rhetoric of our national conversation is saturated by themes of racial tension. But the reality is, nowhere in America does racial violence occur more prevalently than behind the walls of its correctional institutions.
That's a real statement, man. The racial tensions of that created riots, man. It happens all the time. You know what I'm saying? 50-man, 90-man riots, 30-man riots, 5 stabbings, 1 dude killed, staff got assaulted. Like I said, prison is not an environment that you want to go because you never know what's going to happen. You're putting your life basically in danger every day, whether it's a gun tower or another convict that's going to put something up in you. And then at the same token, you got to politic against your own people. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not going to do too much more of this one, right? I think we pretty much covered what I wanted to cover. Let me get rid of it real quick. And this is a good video, man. It's called 187 News. It talks about the beginning stages, what they went through to get into hostilities. It has a different type of input and information. Couple errors I've seen along the ways, but nothing that's too serious for me to make an issue about, man. But overall, it was a good video, man. I want to know who's the one that put the production together, man. Tap into it. It's on a channel called 187 News. If you haven't seen it, type it in. And like I said, the end of hostilities, I've always had mixed feelings and emotions about it, man, because I was in the shoot for years. I think everybody deserves a chance to be out there on those lines. For whatever intentions they want to be out there, I think you should have the human rights as a human being to have certain privileges and incentives that other inmates have. I don't expect them to fucking cater to every fucking convict and just kiss ass, but at the same time, you do expect the system to give everybody an opportunity to just do their time and take advantage of whatever they can gain or acquire in their arsenal to help people either get back out to the streets or when they do get back out to the streets, man. Anyways, this is your boy Flacco, a Convicts reaction, man. Check out the video, man. I'm gonna be doing some more reactions. I just needed something to do real quick for you guys, man, to keep you guys engaging with this channel. So you're gonna see more content coming. Have a good one.